Joining Shri Padmanabhan on stage, may I also please invite Mr. John Munn, Senior Vice President, Predictive Fraud Intelligence, Visa, Inc., and Shri Sudhanshu Prasad, Chief General Manager, Department of Payments and Settlement Systems, Reserve Bank of India, Security Risk Payments. So if I could please invite all our three speakers on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause? I think it's a very pertinent topic of discussion, and it's only befitting that we hear from the leaders who are fostering change. So thank you once again for joining us, and let me hand over the stage.
Right, so I'm back again. Good afternoon or good evening. Right, I mean, though it's the end of the session, end of the three-day conference, this I think is a very important issue that we are trying to discuss over the next 25-30 minutes or so. Because if you recall, both the governor in his keynote address, as also the Honorable Prime Minister did mention that as we become more and more a technology nation, what we need to make sure is that we are able to effectively address the issue of cyber crimes and frauds. Now, I must tell you that this is becoming increasingly difficult, and let me narrate a couple of incidents which can unnerve many people. Now, recently, if you have been following the press, a week ago, we read a news where a retired lawyer in the United States and US people, please understand, they keep substantial amounts by way of retirement money so that after retirement they have a comfortable life. So we are talking about a sum like $740,000, quite a substantial amount. This guy was made to believe by the scamsters that he is, because he was a lawyer, his help is being sought to nab certain cyber criminals who are trying to take some money from his account, and he was periodically asked to transfer sums of money from his account to another account, which he thought was the FBI's account or the government account. Now, till he lost his entire money and these people stopped conversing with him, he never even realized that this was a sophisticated scam. And if you look at the number, I think today in the US, I think it is the retired people, the aged people, 65 and above, who are being targeted. And the potential loss from the cyber crime in 2023 was $12.5 billion, which was a 22% increase, year-on increase. And this, again, could be an underestimate because there are many people who would not like to advertise, quote, unquote, their foolishness. This is one part of the story. We also know about a story where a senior official from our own regulator was phished and considerable amounts of money was lost. Now, the AI and the Gen AI, which everybody is talking about, and our theme also talks about a responsible AI because this can work both ways. It can be used ethically to tackle, take care of frauds, cyber crimes, etc. At the same time, the cyber criminals can utilize this to defraud the system. So probably I would imagine that the cyber criminals are also holding GFFs every year. Now, this situation, actually, the one we are facing, is little alarming, and it calls for coordinated effort from the industry and the authorities. And it is for this very purpose that we have two gentlemen along with me on the stage. One, Sudhanshu Prasad, who is the Chief General Manager in the Department of Payment and Settlement System in the Reserve Bank of India, and John has been a data scientist, right? Did I get that right? With the Visa, which they call themselves, and everybody acknowledges as the network of networks. So welcome, Sudhanshu and John, all the end of the day, okay? Sudhanshu, to you first. RBI has become a world leader in the retail payment space. Safe, speedy, efficient, affordable, all this we have put in place in terms of payment systems. And Reserve Bank has been the leader in taking safety measures like two-factor authentication, tokenization, data localization. Now, all this has been towards, bringing better integrity into the system. Now, can you explain the thought process and the philosophy of the Reserve Bank of India in this regard, so that the thinking of the regulator behind taking these measures, our audience would better understand? Sudhanshu.
Thank you, sir. It is true that India's digital payment landscape has been witnessing an unprecedented rise in the recent years. Now, today, India is acknowledged as among the leaders in the world, especially in the retail payments area, with digital payment products, innovative products that has not only ensured increased adoption of digital payments, but has also facilitated rapid growth in digital payment transactions. So today, digital payments in India have grown by around 48% in terms of volume and 8% in terms of value during the last 5 years, that is from 2018-19 to 2023-24, in CAGR terms. And if you consider last 10-year period, these figures are around 52% and 12%. That is in terms of volume and value respectively. Now, though there has been rapid advancement in the digital payment landscape in India, along with advent of non-bank entities in the payment landscape, coupled with new technologies and increasing digital consumer demands, the number of payment frauds have been increasing. Of course, in percentage terms, it's not alarming, but it has shown an increase over the years now. One in about, say, 71,000 or 77,000 transactions, there is one fraud happening. This has been coming, these numbers have been coming down. That means the number of frauds are increasing. In percentage terms, it's very less. It's much less than any other jurisdiction, any other cross-border jurisdiction. But in a vast country like India, with varied level of education and access to technology, it's seemingly difficult for the general masses to really understand the technological advancements. And there comes the need for the policy-making institutions to really work hard to take adequate steps to protect the citizens from the onslaught of technological advancements. And there comes the issue of consumer protection. So the actions of RBI, the objective of all the actions of RBI as the regulator and supervisor of payment systems, it's basically enshrined in the provisions of our Payment and Settlement Systems Act, which provides that the RBI may issue directions to the authorized payment system operators, among others, in public interest. So it is the public policy objective that drives the philosophy of regulating and supervising the authorized payment systems operators by RBI. So accordingly, India has adopted customer protection as one of the instruments of public interest. We know that consumer protection ensures that the user of the payment system continues to use various payment systems for its various transactions and is not alienated from it due to some bad experience. So in all our directions, circulars, we have ensured that the customer protection is really embedded into it. So you will see customer protection as the focus in all our thrust towards digital payments. In fact, we have adopted a framework where we work towards two-pronged approach to handle the customer protection. That is through prevention of frauds and through post-fraudulent activity, that is protection of the customers against the losses due to the frauds. So as Mr. Padmanabhan has already talked about the action, the safety and security measures which we have taken all along, right from 2009 onwards till date. For card transactions, we introduced the two-factor of authentication. And we became the pioneers of two-factor of authentication. And that was nothing but because we wanted to ensure customer protection. Then we came out with the guidelines on issuance of EMV chip and PIN-based cards. That was the basic principle was again customer protection to stop the to address the rising cases of your card skimming or the card cloning. Over a period of time, we have implemented many steps and measures which are for the safety and security of payment transactions. And the underlying objective behind it is customer protection. And so even beyond safety and security measures for ensuring the safety of the customer payment transactions, we also handle the post, if at all there is a post-fraudulent activity, then we want to limit the liability of the customers in case of any unauthorized transactions. So we came out with a guidelines way back in 2017, where it describes the criteria for determining the customer liability in case of unauthorized transactions. Then we also came out with a guidelines for harmonizing, we came out with a framework for harmonizing the turnaround time and the customer compensation for the failed transactions. We also mandated the payment system operators and the participants to put in place online dispute resolution mechanism for handling failed transactions so that the customer complaints and disputes are resolved in near real time, which through systems which are technology-driven, which are rule-based, customer-friendly, and transparent, with zero or minimal manual intervention. Apart from that, we have come out with integrated ombudsman scheme, which serves as a platform, as an alternative customer redress platform, which for handling the customer complaints which have not been satisfactorily addressed by the regulated entities, that is the banks and the PPI issuers.
Okay.
I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's very clear. At the heart of all this is maintaining the integrity of the system and the customer protection. And that, I think, sort of summarizes the various set of action which Sudhanshu explained. John, first of all, welcome to this country.
Thank you.
Cards are the most familiar digital alternative to cash. And today, you are in good company of two regulators, one former, one the current regulator. Now, Visa, as I said, is known as the network of networks. So you have a vantage point. And could you effectively tell us how you engage with the regulators and the ecosystem to ensure the fraud protection and fraud prevention and customer protection?
Thank you. So, the way I think about our engagement with regulators around the world is, first and foremost, we really focus on collaboration. And our focus is on collaboration, obviously, with regulators in the 200+ markets that we operate in, but also beyond regulation. In the field of fighting fraud, we have to collaborate with law enforcement, with banks, with processors, with fintechs, with really everybody out there. And it's through that collaboration that I believe we can build the best fraud defense systems, because we have to think about how do you create a fabric of defenses that allows you to stamp out fraud, which is evil and is trying to get in all the nooks and crannies where you leave any gap. And so I truly believe that Visa, with our global purview, we're in a great position to collaborate with regulators in India and in every other market in the world. And we have a responsibility to do so to protect consumers from bad guys.
Right. Sudhanshu, let me come back to you. I think as far as the frauds or the problems in general are concerned, I think that can be sort of looked at it from two angles. One is where the customer is a victim, and the other, just to provoke, the customer is the facilitator. And what do I mean by being facilitator? Is that he has compromised his credentials, right? So in an interconnected world, in a technologically driven world, if the details are compromised, then I think it becomes very difficult for any kind of protection to be protecting that kind of customers. Now, I know Reserve Bank is a full-service central bank. You take care of the customer protection end to end. Now, this issue has to be looked at again from two angles. One is customer education, and the other is the data protection. Because in an interconnected ecosystem, how much of data can be handled? Now, Reserve Bank, again, was one of the countries, perhaps not the first in deciding on the data localization, which one of the complaints against the Reserve Bank of India is that actually reduces the efficiency of the fraud prevention measures because the data is segmented. I'm sure that a lot of thought process again went into Reserve Bank of India in both in designing the customer education and about the data localization. Briefly, can you explain again the thoughts?
Sir, one way to handle such scenario where customers have themselves divulged the confidential information or the credentials, such as the PIN, OTP, or password, is only way is to make them aware, and that too fully aware in a comprehensive manner and at frequent time intervals. They need to be told about the various modus operandi of the payment frauds and also the safety and security measures which have been implemented by the payment ecosystem. Though we have come out with various guidelines on safety and security measures, we still see that the frauds, the customers, they are duped through various social engineering techniques. Now, what are the reasons behind all these social engineering frauds? What we see, there are three main reasons. One is greed for easy money. Second is fear of your bank account being blocked or your mobile SIM being blocked, or the fear of disconnection of your electricity or any other utility, or the threat of legal consequences of, say, courier spam calls, or there are various use cases coming, being known to us. Now, and the third reason is about ignorance and or unawareness. Now, because of ignorance or unawareness, some of the customers, what they do, they post their complaints or the disputes on the social media or internet. Now, the fraudsters get those easily available information and target those customers. Now, so these are the three reasons what we see where the customers get targeted, and through social engineering techniques, they get defrauded. Now, to handle the challenges of social engineered frauds, consumer awareness is the only potential, it's very essential for handling the customer frauds as such. So what Reserve Bank has done over the period of years, we have been conducting public awareness campaigns to educate the customers about safe banking practices, about safe use of digital payment modes, to avoid sharing of critical personal information, and also provide some information about financial planning and the fraud prevention measures. And these public awareness campaigns are generally done under the tag of RBI says or RBI kehta hai. You must have seen, under this, we have been also going through television, through print and social media, through radio, through newspapers, and also we target the major festivals, major functions, and also serials which are very renowned ones. Like Amitabh Bachchan has been doing all along in the television. And in addition to this, RBI Kehta Hai public awareness campaign, we also conduct electronic banking awareness training programs through our regional offices across the country. And the purpose is about making the masses aware about the benefits of the various payment modes, the aspects relating to cybersecurity, and the benefits of moving from physical modes of payment to digital modes of payment. So we target primarily, the main thrust is are three, about making them aware about the digital payment products, making them aware about the frauds and risk mitigation, making them aware about the customer grievance redressal mechanism. In addition to this, we have advised all the banks and the payment system operators to regularly conduct or to undertake targeted multilingual campaigns for the benefit of their users on the safe and secure use of the various digital payment modes. Then we have also come out with a book on Be Aware and the Raju and the 40 Thieves, which have been published in English, Hindi, 11 regional languages, and placed on our website and it talks about the various modus operandi of payment frauds and also the safety and security measures which can be used so that they don't get defrauded. So in addition to this, now, as regards data protection, as you have already talked, sir, we came out with the data localization guidelines in April 2018, and we mandated that all the payment system providers who are processing payment data in respect of the payment systems operated by them, they should be ensuring that the data is stored only in India.
I think, Sudhanshu, your first part of the answer probably in a way answers the second part, because when we are dealing with such a diverse set of people in terms of their education, understanding of technology, it is important that the data does not the access to data is not available to too many, because these people will obviously get targeted, the people who are in the fair bit of them. So if you permit me, let me go to a little bit futuristic thing. And first I will start with John, and then maybe, John, I think one of the things that I think everyone, the entire ecosystem is starting to talk about when we are talking about really the prevention, rather than running around for the money, because the money gets moved out very quickly, is what is called the Digital Payment Intelligence Platform, DPIP. I think Visa, the industry, the regulators have a lot to play to make sure that this becomes a reality. Because, for instance, in the morning and in the governor's speech, he did mention about the Reserve Bank of India's effort in RBI Innovation Hub, where they have put together a model which is able to predict a mule account with 90% confidence, which is huge. So these are these models which prevent things which become important. So as far as the DPIP is concerned, I think you have done quite a bit of work. So your thoughts, and if Sudhanshu has to add anything, we can add. So mainly your thoughts, please.
Sure, and I do think Visa has, and other multinationals have an important role to play in this. I think, really, I'd make 3 quick points. One is, I think with a global purview, with a view of many, many markets around the world, it gives us the ability to see fraud trends as they happen. And I think that we can be a valuable source of intelligence for you here in India, because while sometimes you may be the first to experience a type of fraud, sometimes that new fraud will happen in Latin America or in Africa or some other part of the world. And so I think Visa and other networks and other multinationals can bring that intelligence here so that you're more prepared when this type of fraud hits your market. I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is the more we can establish a common way of talking about fraud around the world, the more we speak the same language on these topics, no matter where you are, I think we can all be on the same page. We can be faster. We can bring innovations to market around the world faster and more efficiently. And so I would, I'd press us to involve multinationals and to learn to speak a common language. And I think the last point I would make is in any fraud system, anti-fraud system, you want to do the best that you can to bring all types of players into the model. You want networks, you want fintechs, you want banks, you want startups, you want everybody involved. Why is that? Because you want to get the best of the best. You want to have the best models no matter where they're coming from. You want to have the best solutions because we're all together to fight crime, to fight bad guys. And I think if that can happen here, then I think that'll give you the best hope of being the best in the world at fighting fraud. And I think that's a way that I hope that my team can play a role here with all of you to partner to, again, like I wake up every morning and say my goal is to go to work and fight bad guys. And that's what I want to do together here.
No, so I think before I ask Sudhanshu whether he has anything to add, I have a question for you. Is that what you talk about is very interesting, but somebody can come back and tell, how does this work if every country decides to go in for data localization and the data gets segmented? Would you still be able to work with the system, or is that something which is going to pose a challenge? Because in our conversation, you had said that it is possible that even on data which are localized, rules can be applied and this can be taken care of. I think it's important that the audience knows about it.
Yeah, I think that, while data may be localized, human beings can still cut across markets. And so while I may not be able to leverage data in one location in another location, I can bring the knowledge I've generated. For example, the team I work on, we have a combined 1,000 years of fraud modeling experience. We can bring that experience everywhere we go, even if I'm not bringing data with me. And so I think that, that is, again, an important way that large organizations can help no matter where this happens in the world is through the sharing of information and collaboration. And I believe that, another example is, if you have a new type of fraud that pops up, you can develop a rule in one part of the world and bring it to another part of the world, and that rule can help you have defenses in place even before that type of fraud shows up in your ecosystem, so that you're prepared for it when it shows up. Of course, when it shows up, it'll be present in your data, and your AI will pick it up, and it will quickly improve and learn to handle it. But having that knowledge before that type of fraud is present is going to be powerful to you, no matter where you are in the world.
Thank you. Sudhanshu, you have any thoughts?
No, we have already announced about the establishment of the Digital Payment Intelligence Platform. And of course, to take this initiative forward, there has been a committee which has been set up to examine the aspects of setting up this platform. The objective, what we understand, of course, the committee is yet to give its recommendations. The objective of this platform probably would be to really have a network level intelligence and real-time data sharing across the digital payment ecosystem.
This is a working group headed by Mr. Hota.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it was announced in the monetary policy of 7 June by the governor. So we are still waiting for the report. We don't know what would be the data which will be really feeding into this platform. what would be the contours of this platform. So that has to be, recommended by the committee, and then we'll be taking that
Okay.
call. Right.
Thank you very much. I think we are more or less out of time. You have any final thoughts to share?
Well, thanks for having me.
That's fine. Sudhanshu?
Thank you. Sir.
I think the next, we are running late, obviously, due to the morning session we had. Maybe I'll take one question if you have any question to be asked, otherwise we'll just wind up. Who is that? Can we give the mic? Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Just a question to Sudhanshu ji. You just mentioned about the cyber security awareness, the programs which we are running, really commendable. But all the fintechs who are registered or who are working with the banks, and banks also specifically, is Reserve Bank of India making it mandatory for these banks to educate the number of customers we are adding more customers to the digital economy. But are we also looking forward to instruct them, like how they run CSR programs for multiple other things? So are we also looking at talking to them, hey, you have added 100,000 customers this month. How many, is there like a 5% or a 10% out of them you have done awareness program, or you have made them aware, a cybersecurity awareness program? Because if this is done, slowly, this is just a suggestion, I may be wrong also, sir. Slowly, the customer gets educated, because there are senior citizens who are pensioners, who are using digital platforms. Banks are adding a lot of things on mobile banking, multiple things to support them. But also if the same people, because you mentioned about the electricity or the utility bill frauds which are happening, and many of them are getting trapped to it. And hats off to the public sector banks, the initiatives which they have taken, where just like freezing the account when there is a mirror image happening. Like it happened with my mother, so I'm just sharing that with you. But an awareness program, if it is run mandatorily, like, okay, you've added 100,000, this is a number of people, the same out of them, you should make them aware. That will really help. Just a question. Thank you.
Point well taken, but the direction from us is pretty clear that they need to, on a continuous basis, run these programs. Multilingual, awareness campaigns they need to do by way of SMS or way of advertisement in the print and visual media. So they have been, I understand, at least I keep getting SMSs that you should not be doing this, you should not be sharing OTP. All those SMS, I keep getting it. Probably all banks must be doing that. But yes, we can think of reiterating our instructions again to them so that they are on their guards for this. Let me just tell you, we are ramping our efforts in the EBAT programs, electronic banking awareness and training programs, which I talked, which our officers are doing it. We are ramping those efforts so that the training approach gets shifted from the passive and mass communication to customized and user-specific delivery channels. And we are also going to widen the scope of our campaigns, which we do under the RBI Kehta Hai programs. So we are going to ramp up our efforts, and we also may think of adding much more programs in different ways also. Thank you.
So if I can take 20 seconds to add to what Sudhanshu said, I think this is a continuous process. And we must also understand that there is nothing called the customers onboarded by the fintech. They may be the front end, but ultimately they are the customers of the banks. So the banks will have to treat them, all of them, in the same manner. And probably why fintechs have come into the field is because of the ease of operations they offer to the customer. So we cannot confuse the awareness program and convert that into an orientation program, it will become slightly problematic. On that note, thank you very much.